Hello, graphic design. So we're going to make a color wheel today using Shapes, Shape Builder, the pen tool, and the rotate tool. So if you go to the Google Classroom and you download this template, you're going to be able to see that there are two layers. There's a layer that is locked with the guidelines, and there's a layer that you're starting with an oval. So we're going to go ahead and start with that oval shape. And we're going to rotate that oval shape around just like we did when we learned how to do this with the pizza. So I need to select the object that I want to rotate. And then I need to go to my rotate tool, which looks like this, or I could press the R on my keyboard. And then I need to click where I want it to rotate around. So if I just click without holding Alt, then I can click and drag to rotate manually. However, I don't want to do that because I want it to be more accurate than that, right? So if I hold down Alt and then I see those three little dots next to the crosshairs, then I can click in the center where I want it to rotate, and I can tell it exactly the degree and how many times I would like it to rotate. So I'm going to tell it to rotate 360 by 12. That means that it's going to go all the way around 12 times. So now that I can see a preview of what that will do, I'm going to go ahead and press copy. And then in order to duplicate that action, I'm going to do Control D until it goes all the way around. Now that I have a shape that looks like this, which looks kind of complicated, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of those circles, and then I'm going to use my Shape Builder tool, or Shift M, to click and drag through all of those spaces. I want to make this one shape instead of a bunch of shapes. So after you do that, then you're going to get a shape that looks kind of like a flower, like this. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So we're going to leave this guy here. We're going to use it in a little bit. For now, we're going to leave it in the middle. So the next thing that we're going to do is make a triangle. So remember, in order to make a triangle, we're going to use the star shape. So I'm going to click and drag, and then to add or take away points, I use the arrows on my keyboard. So the up arrow adds points and the down arrow takes away points. So I'm going to go ahead and make a triangle that looks about this big. And then I'm going to use my selection tool to change the size of it so that it'll be something like this. And I want you to make it where the point of our triangle is lined up with that blue guideline. So now that I've got a triangle here, I actually want to flip it, right? So remember, in order to flip something, you have to right click, transform, and then reflect. We're going to reflect it horizontally. You can see a preview of what it's going to do to our shape. And then I'm not going to copy it. I'm just going to say OK. So now that we have a triangle, the next thing we're going to do is make the top of it look a little bit nicer by adding some circles. So we're going to go ahead and start by zooming in a little bit. And then I'm going to go with my ellipse tool. And I'm going to click on the very center of my triangle here. And if I don't hold anything down on my keyboard, my circle is going to come out from the corner. But if I hold Control and Shift, or sorry, Alt and Shift, then it'll come out from the center and it'll be a perfect circle. So I'm going to go ahead and make that perfect circle by holding Shift and Alt. And then I'm going to continue that a second time. So let's click off of this and then go back to my ellipse tool. Right here where the circle is intersecting with my triangle, I'm going to make another circle there, again by holding Shift and Alt. This one's going to be a little bit smaller. So it'll look something like that. And then instead of having to make this circle again, I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag this circle while holding Alt to recreate it on the other side. So now I have a big circle and two smaller circles with a triangle. And I'm going to use Shape Builder to make all of those into one shape. So I'm going to come over here and just click and drag through all of those spaces. So now I have a shape that looks a little bit prettier. We're going to use this shape to rotate around our circle so that we can have spaces to put all of our colors for our color wheel. So again, I'm going to go with my selection tool. I'm going to select the shape that I want to rotate. I'm going to press the R on my keyboard to go to my rotate tool. I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard and click the center of my artboard. Because remember, wherever you click with your rotate tool, that's where your shape will rotate around, right? So I want it to rotate around the center of the artboard and not the center of the shape that I selected. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. And then again, we're going to do 360 by 12. Because there are 12 colors in the color wheel. And then we're going to go ahead and press copy. And then to duplicate that, we'll do Control D until it goes all the way around. Now, once you go all the way around, you can see this one is still selected. If I continue to do Control D a bunch of times, it's going to make a bunch more of those shapes just right on top of the ones that we did before. And that's too many. We don't need that many. So if you accidentally pressed Control D too many times, just Control Z and it'll go away. So I'm deleting those extra ones because I don't need them. Okay, so now we have that flower shape in the middle. We've got that nice triangle shape around the outsides. And now we need to separate those triangle shapes into 3 different shapes. So that way we can have a tint, tone, and shade of each color. So next thing I'm going to do is go back with my circle or ellipse tool. So with my ellipse tool, I'm going to click in the center of my artboard. And again, I'm going to hold Shift and Alt so that it'll be a perfect circle and it will come from the center. I'm going to make this circle so that I have just like the bottom part of my triangle, the pointy part, surrounded. So something kind of like this. And then we are again going to go with our ellipse tool in the center. So I need to click off of this shape and then go back with my ellipse and click in the center. And I'm going to hold Shift and Alt again and make a circle that's a little bit bigger than that one. So basically you just want to make 3 evenly spaced spaces. So now on my triangles, I have 1, 2, 3 spaces that are evenly distributed. So now that I have that, we are going to need to use our shape builder tool again to make individual shapes inside of these triangles, right? So I'm going to select everything on my artboard. I'm going to go to my shape builder tool and I'm going to change the fill to be red so that I know which shapes I've already clicked on. If you don't change the fill, then when you click on something, it's just going to stay empty and you won't know which shapes you've already created. But now that I've changed my fill, if I click inside of here, then it changes color, right? So now I know that I've made all of those the shapes that they need to be. I'm going to go ahead and click on all of them all the way around. And then I also need to delete these lines that are in the center. I don't need those anymore. So if I hold Alt, I can click and drag and delete those guys because they were just to help me make the shapes. Sweet. So now we should be able to change the colors of all of our color wheel spaces now, right? So we're going to need to have the hue, which will be the base color, then a tint of the hue, which will be that color but plus white, the tone of the hue, which will be the color plus gray, and the shade of the hue, which will be the color plus black. So we're going to start with red. Red is going to go at the top of our color wheel, and our shapes are already the color red, right? So all I'm going to do is click on this top shape, and then double click over here where the fill is being displayed on my toolbar, and my color picker will come up, right? So for the color picker, what we're going to do is we're just going to drag this little white circle into the space that is either lighter or darker to make a tint, tone, or shade of that color. So let's make a shade first. So I'm just going to kind of drag that color picker down here into this darker area. Not everybody's tint, tone, and shade will be the same, but everybody should be creating it the same way. So in the color picker, you can see this was my original color, and this is my new color. So this is the color that this space will be. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay. And then I'm going to click on the next one. I'm going to double click on the fill. And then this time I'm going to drag it into the gray area. So somewhere in here. And then I'll say okay. And then again, click on this part down here, double click on the color picker, drag this into the white area to make a tint. So now we've lost our original color, right? Now I have like a shade, a tone, and a tint here, but I need to have the original color as well. So remember when I said we were going to come back to this flower shape? So let's go ahead and duplicate this flower shape by clicking and dragging it while holding Alt. And then we're going to put this guy behind the shape that we have in front of us right now. So we're going to make it so that the fill is the red that we started with. And then we'll right click, arrange, and send it to the back. So now I have my hue, and then my shade, tone, and tint of that hue. And I'm going to repeat that process for all of my colors on my color wheel. So the colors on the color wheel do need to have a specific order. So let's go ahead and just put the hues on our image. Okay, so the colors on the color wheel in order that they need to be. We've got red right here at the top. Next to red, we need to make a red orange. So again, I'm just going to click and drag this shape while holding Alt. And then I'm going to change the color of that fill by clicking on fill over here. And I'm going to look for a red orange color, which would be this one. And then I could actually, if I send this guy to the back, I'm going to do arrange, send to the back. I could also just rotate this shape around as well, right? So if I click on that guy, and then I click down the R on my keyboard to get to my rotate tool, then I'm going to hold Alt and click the center of my artboard. And then I'm going to do 360 by 12, press copy. And then we'll just duplicate that all the way around. So now we have the shape and the place that it needs to be all the way around. We just need to change the color. So we've got red, red, orange. After red, orange, we need to do regular orange. And then we need yellow, orange. And then yellow. Yellow, green. So let's make that a little bit more yellow, green. This one should be regular green, blue green, this one should be just normal blue, I think. Yes. And then after blue, then we need blue violet, regular violet, and then red violet. So all of those colors that I just selected are colors that came from the preset palette that's in the fill underneath properties. So you saw me clicking these preset colors over here. That's exactly how I want you to choose your colors. I do not want you to use Color Picker to choose your base hues. I want you to use the preset colors in your palette over here. Then you're going to use Color Picker to change the shade, tint, and tone of all of those. So, for example, if I were going to go for my red orange, again, I would just go ahead and select the 3 spaces that I need to change. I would make those the original red orange color. And then when I click on that shape, I'm going to double click over here on my fill in my toolbar. And then I'm going to make it darker, make it a shade. Double click for the tint, make it where it's like gray, and then double click for the, oh, I said tint, that was supposed to be a tone. Tint is with white. So you're going to go ahead and do that for all of your colors. I'm not going to include all of the colors in this tutorial because now that you know the process, you should be able to just go do it. All right, hopefully this was helpful. Have a good time.